everyone. Welcome to the Swing Museum podcast for May. I'm your host, Jan Eberle, and we actually have a pretty full show this time, where I'd like to talk about what happened in April during the Bradenton Children's Book Fair. It was a fabulous success. Hundreds of people showed up. A wonderful array of artists, authors with their books. It was just a really great time, and the people were so friendly and so nice, and we met some very, very interesting folks. So I'll cover that a little bit later on. Also, we'll take a look later on at the career and life of activist artist Miriam Cassell. Now, that name may sound familiar to many of you out there, especially to some from perhaps the Northeast, but I don't want to say that she was only known for being a New Yorker. She is known really worldwide because of the large stand that she took as an activist artist, which means that she has stood her ground on behalf of others who really can't, to display her emotions through art as an activist artist, and it shows. Many of you may be familiar with some of the things that we'll talk about later on, but I think you'll find Miriam Cassell as fascinating as I do. But first, let's go back and celebrate somebody today that I've actually had a few requests to do, and it's actually my own father, Ray Eberle. I talk about him frequently. I talk about how I got into music and really how much his history appealed to me. But this is actually a good look. Since the time that I started singing, certainly, and all the way up to now, I have written a book about his life, and it is now on Kindle, and it's also on Audible. So what I'd like to do is share with you a little bit of that Audible and a little bit of information about the book, as well as a little bit about his career and the beautiful mark he made in history. So let's take a listen to the man himself.
Did I remember to tell you I adore you, and I am living for you alone? Did I remember to say without you, and just how mad about you I've grown? You were in my arms, and that was all I knew. We were alone, we two. What did I say to you? Did I remember to tell you I adore you and pray forevermore you are mine? my arms, and that was all I knew. We were alone, we two. What did I say to you? Did I remember to tell you I adore you and pray forevermore you are mine?
So, after having had his book published by Cadence Jazz Books back in 2002, I believe it was, I really didn't think anything beyond that. At that point, Kindle and Audible books really weren't even on the map. But today, I took another look at it last year, thanks to some of the members of the National League of American Penwomen. I talk about the Sarasota branch of the Penwomen where I am a member, and we share information, we share experiences, we share support. And this is how I heard about those things regarding a book I'd written so long ago. So I went ahead and thought to myself, gee, I don't know whether I'm emotionally okay with narrating this book. I don't want to fall to pieces. I don't know whether I would have, but I did find a young woman as a narrator who did take on this event for me, and I'm very, very happy that she did. I'd like to play a little bit of the Audible snippet that comes that you can listen to before you buy it. I'm Jan Eberle. You are tuned into the Swing Museum podcast. Here is a snippet from my father's Audible called The Eberle Named Ray.
Chapter 2. Life as a band singer was very different for Dad compared to his first 19 years in upstate New York. Shucking clams quickly became but a memory. He had successfully prepared with Miller's band for their opening at the Raymar Ballroom in Boston in April of 1938. I'm sure my father was anxious, but at the same time exhilarated from the intense energy of the fans. They used to gather close to the stage, with droves of girls encircling the singer's platform like a human buffer. How overwhelming it all must have been. Most of the musicians in the band had never been exposed to the volume and intensity of these crowds. One such musician was a tenor saxophone player and novelty singer named Gordon Beneke. Most call him Tex. It's been said that some close to Glenn at the time doubted his eagerness to bring people like Tex and my dad on board. History has proven Miller's instincts in this case to be sound. Tex was one of the finest saxmen in the business, and he added class, charm, and wit to the organization. He was solid and knew his job, and was in part responsible for Glenn's success. Beneke gave 100%. And would have given the shirt off his back to just about anyone, and he remained loyal to Miller long after Glenn's disappearance and death. Tex told me it wasn't always easy, but as a young 20-something-year-old kid, with stars in his eyes and a tuned instrument, he was ready for action. Singer Marion Hutton was also on board. Her specialty was the novelty swing tune. She was a darling and quite a showwoman. She knew her strengths and used them well. My father, still a kid in the first months, remained persistent in pleasing Miller. He sang tunes in ungodly keys and kept the girls interested with his looks and charms. It was Miller's show. His name was up front. The musicians played his famous, unique sound, heard mainly in the octave split of the sax section. Dad sang his heart out on ballads, while Marion and the modern airs kept the kids dancing, but the glory went to the band leaders. The singers and musicians were nothing but players.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jan Eberle, your host of the Swing Museum podcast. Tune in by day to ksav.org to hear the best of old-time radio since, Well, Old Time Radio. And check out their broadcast schedule where you can listen to a different hosted show every evening. How fabulous. But don't forget to check out my Swing Museum podcast archive page for the latest and greatest in my world and the world of art. So tune in to ksav.org, your radio home on the web. Well, welcome back to the Swing Museum podcast for May. I'm your host, Jan Eberle. Still ahead, a look at the Bradenton 5th Annual Children's Book Fair. It was loads of fun. Authors reading to children, a ton of people. It was a great success, and I'll share that with you a little bit later on. Also, in last month's podcast, we talked to Lolly Owens, and I don't want to even say if you're just in Sarasota, if you like coming to Sarasota because of all of the art exhibits and so on that go on around the county from any place in the state, I really encourage you to go to the Ringling College of Art and Design, where there's been an ongoing, starting May 28th through June 20th, an ongoing opening and gallery exhibit called The Beauty of Small. I love that. I do love that title. There are plenty of docent tours available on June 5th, June 12th, and June 19th, and I encourage you, as it's going to be coming to an end on the 20th of June. So thank you, Lolly Owens, and I'm sure you are doing an absolutely awesome job, as always. I'd like to move on to our feature for today. You know, one of the gals that I've gotten to know through the Pen Women has become a very dear friend of mine. Her name is Miriam Cassell. So let me tell you a little bit about Miriam. Miriam Cassell, as an art activist, has created outspoken images against social wrongs. Like intolerance, sexual hypocrisy, marginalization of the handicapped, the Holocaust, domestic violence, cultural barriers, age discrimination, and the overweight. And her work has been described by lovers of art and critics alike as powerful, dramatic, highly emotional, profound, symbolic, vivid colors, sharp images. Her pastel paintings reveal a unique ability to translate the vital experiences of her life into an energetic new art form. Well, before I go on and tell you a little bit about her work, though, first I'd like to tell you a little bit very briefly, about her. She was born in Manhattan's Lower East Side, and she says her approach on life has been as a student. Her extensive ongoing education and travels have focused on the history and philosophy of art, as well as the varied mediums of techniques and artist expression, of which she has had many. So this is what Miriam has to say. I have always been purpose-driven, with a save the world type of vibe going on. I have always possessed compassion for humanity and have wanted to make a difference. Through my art, I have attempted to break the barriers of discrimination by educating and inspiring the viewer to have compassion for people of all ages, disabilities, gender, and have sought justice for people in all walks of life. So as an example of her compassion for humanity and wanting to make a difference is a series known as The Screamers. She created this series entitled The Screamers, for which fans often identify with her. It's crazy, but it's absolutely true. And screaming is, she says, a fundamental expression, a feeling of all cultures. The universality of this primal explosion of emotion is a tribute to the endurance of the human spirit. Amen to that. The Screamers confront. They interact with one another, reflecting our love and desperation. Emotional catharsis resounds. We are one. Amen, girl. Amen. Well, I would like to take some time to show you some of the works, only scratching the surface, but she's been very generous with the amount of material that she's been able to bring up, and she said I could keep going and more. My inbox was full. So I'd like to bring you a little bit of Miriam Cassell. You are tuned in to the Swing Museum podcast for May. I'm Jan Eberle. This is Miriam Cassell. Thanks, Miriam, for the eye candy, for the heart and soul. I didn't want to leave you without letting you know where she has had her art exhibited. She holds a Philip Eisenberg Award from the Salmagundi Museum of American Art in New York and has exhibited in numerous solo or group shows such as the Saratoga Art Gallery, Islip Art Gallery, the Heckscher Museum, as well as many other Long Island museums. In Manhattan, she's been exhibited at the Carlyle Gallery, love that, the Jack Gallery, and the Book Arts Gallery. She's got posters and memories, and I'm sure would love to share. Anytime you have a chance to see Miriam Cassell or listen to it, it would be a very big treat for you, I promise. Thank you, Miriam. Well, I would like to move on, finally, but not lastly, to the Bradenton Book Fair. And the reason why this is so important, and it allows authors to mingle with each other. Brenda Spalding had said in last month's interview that decades ago, authors just didn't talk to each other. They didn't commingle and share things. And not only was that a great opportunity to talk about your ideas and to watch other people in their art and how fascinating it is, but it is also a way to get together and really talk one-on-one with the children. So when the children come up to your table to look at your books, you don't say, oh, don't touch that. You encourage them to reach out, to ask questions, and speak directly to them. And I'll tell you, I learned a lot that day. It was fun reading the books that we brought with us that the authors had written, to see the expressions on some of their faces. I, for one, brought a couple of the stuffed animals, or in my case, with the ant and the grasshopper, it would have been insects that inspired me at the time. And they're quite old, but I brought them anyway. And the children just loved it. So I guess the big message is here to let's pay attention, folks, really, to making sure we read to our kids and to not really discourage them from trying to pick up something that might be too big for them at the time. So what? They'll grow into it soon enough. So let's keep our children reading and happy, and let's include them in everything that we're doing that has to do with art and reading. It really, really is a very important part of their future. And I recently heard something from somebody very wise, and they said that children make up 25% of us and 100% of our future. And I took that to heart in a very, very good way. So let's take a great look at the sights and sounds of that wonderful day at the Bradenton Farmers Market and the Bradenton 5th Annual Children's Book Fair. Hi, everyone. I'm Jan Eberle, your host of the Swing Museum podcast. We're here today at the Bradenton Children's Book Fair. We talked to Brenda Spalding, who is a fellow author, and she's going to be here as well. I've set my table up today in hopes of drawing some kids in to some of the books that I've written. And we're going to be reading to them a little bit later on one of the stages. So right now, though, I'm going to take you up Main Street so that you can see all of the wonderful things that go on at this farmer's market. It really is a great place for children. Let's go. That's all great, great stuff. Well, before I sign off here, I'd like to mention to you what is going to be happening in our June podcast. The entire podcast is going to be about my annual trip to award my father's scholarship through the Glenn Miller Scholarship Awards program. It is one of the highlights of attending 4 or 5 days there, and also meeting the youth of this country as they come from all over the country. It is a national award show for vocalists and instrumentalists, and it really is a great, great time. There's a lot of footage to be had during the Glenn Miller Festival, lots of people to talk to listen to, and also, of course, to see some of the young men and women who are coming out of high school or out of their first year of college to go and compete for the Glenn Miller scholarships for the year. So I will enjoy bringing that to you, and I hope that you'll join us. I'll be giving you some little tidbits here and there to let you know what is going to be coming. In the meantime, thank you for joining me today on the podcast. I hope you're safe, and I hope that you're happy. Until next time, so long, everybody.
Let's build a stairway to the stars and climb that stairway to the stars with love beside us to fill the night with a song. We'll hear the sound of violins out yonder where the blue begins. The moon will guide us as we go drifting along. Can't we sail away on a lazy daisy paddle over the rim of the hill? Can't we sail away on a little dream and settle high on the crest of its rill? Let's build a stairway to the stars, a lovely stairway to the stars. It would be heaven to climb to heaven with you. Can't we sail away on a lazy daisy paddle over the rim of the hill? Can't we sail away on a little dream and settle high on the crest of a thrill? Let's build a stairway to the stars, a lovely stairway to the stars. It would be heaven to climb to heaven with you.
Night, Dan.